A monster living underneath a child's bed turns out to be real. A city in Georgia attempts for the third time to break the kazoo record. And U.S. bans government personnel in China from having sexual relations with Chinese citizens. These are the weird stories on Weird AF News, the only daily weird news podcast. I got 3 weird news stories from all over the globe. Let's go. A monster living underneath a child's bed turns out to be real and leads to an arrest. The story's out of Kansas. A babysitter recently discovered there was a grown man hiding under a child's bed. The man was found at 10:30 p.m. on Monday. The Barton County Sheriff's Office say a babysitter was putting the children to bed when one of them told her that a, quote, monster was under their bed. Now, that's pretty common to hear from kids. I think I used to say that as well. We have unreasonable fears. I thought something was living under the bed, in the closet. In the closet, in your head. Exit light. I mean, that Metallica song really spoke to my childhood. Now, this babysitter, hoping to comfort the child by showing them there was actually nothing under the bed, nothing to worry about. There's no monsters. There's no boogeyman. Well, the babysitter looked under the bed and came face to face with a man, a grown man hiding under the bed. Can you imagine the horror? Now, once the man was discovered under there, it says there was an altercation. There's no details of the altercation except that the babysitter and the child were knocked over by the man. This is why you need Jason Statham to be your babysitter, or Ray Lewis, the retired linebacker of the Baltimore Ravens. That's a babysitter you can count on. It says here the grown man fled the home before the sheriff's office arrived. The man was identified as someone who used to live at the house, at the same house, but was barred from being there due to a protection from abuse order. What? I'm confused by this. This man was a relative or the biological father? I mean, they got a restraining order against the dad, and he's like, well, I really want to see my kids. I think I got a plan. I'll just hide under the bed or in the hamper. Dude, what are you doing? Now it says the deputies searched for the man in the area all night into the morning. He was found near the home again. This guy went back to the home. This guy's got a problem. After a short foot pursuit, he was taken into custody. He's 27 years old. They're not naming him for some reason. You probably should. They're always trying to protect the identities of these creeps. I don't understand why. We want to know who the creeps are, men. We need to know who the creeps are. We all have beds, most of us. No word here on how the child's processing this. I'm going to guess there's going to be a lot of therapy in this child's future forever. And a lot of melatonin will be in this child's future because you're going to need a sleep aid going forward. Hopefully it's not whiskey. This child may even turn into like a mattress on the floor person. If you're afraid of something under your bed, the mattress on the floor does the trick. Or futons. Futons. Is this some futon purchasing propaganda? It's dive deeper with this, I think. Now, if you happen to be a parent and your child's about to get a bed, I would recommend buying one that doesn't have enough space for a grown adult to fit under there, or a chupacabra. And the next time your child says there's a monster under the bed, maybe believe them. And you know what you can do? Here's a tip. Boil a pot of water and just dump it under the bed. That way, you don't even have to look to see what's under there. It'll all work itself out.
Yeah, boy.
A town in Georgia attempts and fails to break the Guinness World Record of kazoo ensemble. Macon, Georgia is where this story is out of. Macon, Georgia attempted to set a world record that just fell short of the mark. On Friday, the city of Macon tried to break the Guinness World Record for the largest kazoo ensemble at an amphitheater. The current record is 5,190 people gathering with kazoos. That was set in London in 2011. Nearly 15 years later, Macon, Georgia tried to bring the title back to the birthplace of the kazoo. Apparently, the kazoo was invented in Macon, Georgia. I did not know that. Here we are learning. Macon's world attempt didn't quite reach the London mark. They ended up at a total of 1,780 people who participated in this kazoo gathering. I think the most surprising thing about that is that 1,780 people are actually in Macon, Georgia. This isn't the first attempt by the community to break the kazoo ensemble record. They tried 2 previous attempts that also failed. But this is kind of a record unto itself, right? Most failed kazoo world record attempts. Something you can be proud of, I think. The organization Visit Macon, Georgia hosted this event, and they provided kazoos for all participants. Tickets were $5, with proceeds going toward the Otis Redding Foundation and the Otis Redding Center for the Arts, helping young musicians in Macon, Georgia. I knew Otis Redding was from Georgia. I didn't know he was from Macon. Oh, I looked it up. He's from Dawson, Georgia. I wonder if that's a nearby community. But he's from the area, it sounds like. Probably he'd be very proud for the city to break the kazoo record. Not sure if he played the kazoo. Did he? Oh, yeah, because that's how the song goes. Kazooing on the dock of the bay. That's my kazoo impression. Some would say that's a trumpet. Nonetheless, this kazoo gathering was exciting as far as kazoo gatherings go. I mean, you got to kind of lower your expectations when you're thinking of kazoo gatherings. They played a selection of songs, some of the great kazooists. They played Hard to Handle, Get Up Off of That Thing, Sitting on the Dock of the Bay, Ramblin' Man, and Tutti Frutti. All classic songs, obviously, and they're doing kazoo versions of them, which is probably pretty cool to hear. You don't hear that every day. I'd love to hear a kazoo version of Kashmir by Led Zeppelin. Again, not the best kazoo impression, but, I don't have a kazoo on hand. I'm so sorry. It's an instrument I don't have. I have a guitar, and what else do I have? Spoons. I think kazoo's popularity is going to increase as the economy gets worse, because the kazoo is really the only instrument that anyone can afford these days. It's going to be back to Dust Bowl music, I think, in the U.S. Harmonicas in people's pockets, you know what I mean? Singing songs about tariffs. And crying. A lot of crying. For this article, they interviewed someone named Chris Ryan, a member of the Kazoo Sisterhood. Ooh, sounds like a very exciting organization. What's going on a Friday night at the Kazoo Sisterhood Foundation? I wonder. They get bananas. Chris says this was, quote, a valiant attempt. Also vigilant attempt. There was a kazoo celebrity there named Brett Ambler, who's an actor and musician known as the Kazoo Kid. Ooh, the Kazoo Kid was in attendance. Wow. I'm sure this person has more TikTok followers than I do. Brett, the Kazoo Kid, tested Macon's musical and pop culture knowledge by leading kazooists through different songs such as Pink Panther, Fur Elise, Bittersweet Symphony, and the opening to The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Oh, I would have loved to have heard that. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air theme. That would be great on a kazoo. That's pretty cool. Why stop there, though? I would love to see some kazoo renditions of some old school rap songs like Sweat the Technique by Eric B. and Rakim. Wouldn't you love to hear that on kazoo? That would be amazing. Anyone can do that? Please record a video and send that to me. I'll share it. I'll dance to it. I'll accept Microphone Fiend as well. That's one of my favorites. Well, hopefully they'll just regroup, the people of Macon, and make another attempt next year. You might want to import some kazooers. Anyone can kazoo, really. All you need is a mouth, right? Maybe you could even teach a dog to kazoo. I wonder if that would count towards the record. Although dogs don't have lips. You probably need lips to kazoo. I think you need lips. Maybe there's a way to rig it. But anyways, it would be cool. Hey, you got to live for something when you're in Macon, Georgia, right? The United States government bans personnel in China from having sexual or romantic relations with the Chinese citizens. I'm sure this policy is going to run smoothly without any problems going forward. This story is out of Washington. The U.S. government has banned American government personnel located in China, as well as family members and contractors with security clearances, from any sort of romantic or sexual relationships with Chinese citizens. So sadly, I guess this is the end of the sexy Chinese girlfriend spy. Sadly, no more honeypots over there. If you want to have a sexy Russian girlfriend, though, they're not prohibiting that, I assume. So sexy Chinese Russian spies, thumbs up. Sexy Chinese Russian spies, no bueno. I mean, this is probably a step in the right direction. Now, if the U.S. government could just stop leaking secret war plans on text apps, that would be another great improvement, I think, as far as security goes. I care about security. Back to the article, it says, though some U.S. agencies already had some strict rules on such relationships, a blanket non-fraternization policy, as it is known, has been sort of unheard of publicly since the Cold War. It's not uncommon for American diplomats in other countries to date locals and even marry them, as you can imagine. Well, you're located in a completely different foreign country, and you're probably lonely, so this is going to be a thing. But I totally understand the restrictions. I just assumed this was already pretty standard and part of the gig. Because, I mean, as you know, secrets are often leaked in the bedroom. That's kind of where it all unravels, Tell me more about those nuclear warhead designs. Oh, tariffs, baby. I want to know about the tariffs. Don't you know something about the tariffs? It says here, 2 government persons, unnamed, that have knowledge of this ban told the press that this new policy was recently discussed after members of Congress expressed concern that restrictions on such relationships were not stringent enough. So they're amping them up. I still think you ought to get Russia involved in this. Like, we should have this policy for Russia as well. There are Russian honeypots out there, obviously. I'm just borrowing your laptop, dear. I want to chat with my babushka. Don't worry, I'll return it after I scrape your data. This new policy, though, does not include Russia. It covers U.S. missions in mainland China, including the embassy in Beijing and consulates in Guangzhou, Shanghai, Shenyang, and Wuhan. I think I said those properly. As well as the American consulate in the semi-autonomous territory of Hong Kong. It does not apply to U.S. personnel stationed outside of China. The only exception to the policy is U.S. personnel with pre-existing relations with Chinese citizens. So, you don't have to divorce your wife. So I guess that's good. Intelligence services across the world have long used attractive men and women to obtain sensitive information, famously during the Cold War, don't you know? The State Department and other agencies with offices in China have long had stringent reporting requirements on personal relationships for American personnel stationed over there, as well as rivals considered high intelligence threats such as Russia or Cuba. Oh, okay, so maybe this is happening in Russia as well, and probably North Korea. Although, do we even have a consulate in North Korea? I don't think we do. There may be some U.S. government officials over there for all I know, though. I'm not really sure how it works. I do know this, pretty easy to get a North Korean girlfriend. All you got to do is give her a meal. That'll blow her mind. A meal? Play her September by Earth, Wind, and Fire on your smartphone. Just watch her head explode. Well, that's the end of the article. So if you happen to be a government official working over in China, you're not allowed to hook up with anyone over there, men or women. No word yet on whether or not you can still grab them in the I guess we'll wait to hear about that. If you happen to be over there, I guess you're just going to have to do it old school and get with a coworker. So might want to remove the no flirting at work policy for government officials working overseas for the time being. I know it's very common now for companies to have no flirting policies, but you might want to be a little bit more lax on that if you're not going to allow them to even date someone who lives on the mainland there. Or, just buy a bunch of sex dolls and ship them over there for the employees. Come and get your employee care package. Couple of sex dolls for the weekend. I'm just a problem solver, guys. That's what I'm all about. Just making the world great again. Jonesy. Hi, my friends and my loyal listeners. Thank you for spending some time with your buddy Jonesy and the Weird AF News podcast. I so appreciate it. I wanted to give thanks and praise to Ashley Winkle, who wrote me a lovely review on Amazon for the Weird AF News podcast. 5 stars, so Ashley's very generous. The title is Weird AF News, a daily dose of joy in a crazy world. Lovely title. Ashley writes, I started listening to Weird AF News during one of the hardest times in my life when my husband was sick. Since then, I've lost him, but this podcast has remained a constant source of comfort, laughter, and connection. Jonesy's weird, wonderful world is exactly what I need every day. His impressions are both terrible and brilliant, which is part of the magic. The music is a vibe, and the humor is sharp yet full of heart. Even though he downplays it, Jonesy's sharp wit quick thinking, and deep understanding of the world make it clear he's absolutely brilliant. I've listened for so long that I feel like I know him and all the fellow weirdos who tune in. It's like being part of a strange, hilarious little family. One day I hope to see a live show and finally buy Jonesy a coffee, or better yet, a Guinness. Some days I laugh. No matter what kind of day I'm having, Weird AF News is always there to lift my spirits. Thank you, my fellow weirdo, for giving me joy when I needed it most. Stay weird. Ashley Winkle. Isn't that one of the greatest reviews ever? I mean, unbelievable. So much warmth and thoughtfulness in that. I'm so happy to have been able to be a source of comfort, laughter, and connection for you, Ashley. This is like why I do this, really. I don't do it for the money because I make very little money doing this. I do it because people really get something out of this, and that makes me feel good that I'm providing something. I've tried a lot of things in my life: stand-up comedy for 20 years, acting on various shows, writing sketches, videos, playing music, but nothing that I've ever created has had the sort of response that this podcast has, and it's always surprised me because I could never foresee this being like this, anyways, I'm grateful, and this is why I continue to do the podcast, and I'm really grateful for that amazing review by Ashley. If you guys want to leave me a review, you can do it on iTunes, also known as Apple Podcasts, and Amazon, and there's some other places too that I'm unsure of. Please, if you leave me a review, let me know. Send a link. Would be really helpful if you emailed me a link or something. Ashley sent me a DM to tell me that she gave me a review, so I knew to look for it, so that was helpful. My email is funnyjones@gmail.com, or you can DM me in Instagram @funnyjones. So tomorrow is going to be the Friday episode, Florida Friday. If you come across any weird news from Florida, please send that to me if you think it's appropriate for the Friday episode. We'll try and do the best Florida Friday episode that we can. All right, everyone. Thanks for spending some time with me, and I'll see you tomorrow for Florida Friday. Good luck with your life, man.